It is Georgia-Florida week, and Georgia head coach Kirby Smart had a lot to say about Florida quarterback DJ Lagway this week. He's the Gator freshman quarterback. He's one of the best young quarterbacks in college football, former five-star, one of the best prospects out of high school. It's his team now. He's leading the Gators, and he's got a massive challenge on his hands when he takes on the Georgia defense. But listen, this kid can play. He's extremely talented. He's gifted. He's got crazy arm strength. He can take off and run like a deer. He's going to be tough for Georgia to handle at times. I still think he's too young right now, but this is a kid who next year, probably in 2 years, we're talking about as one of the best quarterbacks in college football. He's electric. Here's what Kirby Smart had to say about him this week. He said, first off, he's a tremendous talent. You know, his arm talent and arm strength itself is elite. He's got great size. He's 6'3", 240, by the way. The kid is big, and he can really move. He can make all the throws, Kirby said. He's got a couple really wild throws. I don't know if he meant to say wow throws or wild throws because he made both against Kentucky. He made a couple jaw-dropping throws where you're thinking, wow, that was a fantastic ball. That's an NFL throw. That's why this kid was a five-star quarterback, and the reason that Florida paid him a lot of money to come out of Texas. This is not a kid from Gainesville or from Florida. They went to Texas to get this kid, gave him a lot of money, and he might be worth it. We'll see. I still think it's going to be really a big struggle for him against a defense like Georgia's, but still, Kirby continued. He said, I think for his age and experience, he's ahead of his time in terms of his pocket movement, engagement. I'm going to talk about that in a second because he's right about that. He said, a lot of freshmen abort the pocket and run out of it. He does a good job of stepping up and through it, and he's made several plays where he's trusted the pocket and steps up and makes really good throws. Threw the deep ball really well, obviously, last game against Kentucky. I think they won like 48-20 against the Cats last week. He looked really good. He only threw the ball 14 times. He was 7 for 14, but again, explosive plays down the field. He can launch it, and he can launch it accurately. So in just 7 completions, and again, 7 for 14s, that's not great. 259 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. They ran through Kentucky. They didn't want to throw the ball because they knew they could run. And that's something they did against Kentucky a lot better than Georgia did. Georgia only, 13 points against the Cats on the road. Florida had them in the swamp at home, but they still scored 48 points. They pushed them around. I thought Florida's offensive line was really good in that game. And listen, I'm going to talk about DJ Lagway and more in just a second because Kirby went on and on and on about the kid. He really did. But I want to talk about Florida first because I do think they could give Georgia more trouble than Georgia fans expect. Coming out the gate, right? Everyone was laughing at Florida when they got drilled, just absolutely embarrassed by a Miami team that might be really, really good. Right? They could be really good. At the time, right, it looked really, really bad. It was still a bad loss. 2 weeks later, they lose by 13. I believe it was at home to Texas A&M. That was not a good look either. As it turns out, Texas A&M's pretty good, and they are atop the SEC standings right now. So we didn't know that at the time, but it turns out Texas A&M is a good football team. So, and again, after that loss, Billy Napier's seat could not have been hotter, right? I think that's when they go and they trounce Mississippi State on the road. Pretty good win. They beat Central Florida, and then they beat another team pretty good, I think. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe that's when they went to Tennessee and had a chance to win the game. DJ Lagway had a really nice throw to get them, I think, right within 2 or 1 or 3 or something. Stepped up in the pocket, made a big throw with the game on the line. They should have gone for 2. I don't know why they didn't. I think they settled for the extra point. And then you knew they were going to lose going into overtime on the road. They should have gone for 2 and could have won that game. And then they crush Kentucky at home. They're playing better than I think Georgia fans realize. This kid is a freshman. I don't think he's good enough to beat Georgia. I do think Georgia is going to confuse him. They're going to corral him. He needs the zone read. A healthy Michael Williams is massive. Jalen Walker playing at an extremely high level. The linebacker play, the healthy front 7 that Georgia has, I think is going to be really tough for Florida to move the ball with Lagway, with what they want to do. I'm going to talk about the running back, Jaden Ball, in just a second. But I do want to Well, that's basically everything Kirby said about him. He talks about how there's not a ton of change between DJ Lagway and Graham Mertz because Graham Mertz is also a good athlete. That's a whole bunch of coach speak. That's nonsense. DJ Lagway does bring a level of explosiveness both through the air and on the ground that Graham Mertz doesn't. This kid's the future. I still think George is going to confuse him and rattle him a good bit, especially in that environment, in this type of game. But it would not surprise me at all to see him connect on a big throw or two down the field, or connect, or, find his way to a 25, 30-yard run when they need it the most, or, it's a 3rd and 5 and this kid escapes for a 6-yard run. So I don't think it's going to be easy. I think Georgia needs to play good eye discipline. They need to play physical too. I mean, they cannot take this Florida team lightly, especially that offensive line, because Florida's offensive line is playing better and better. The offense in general is playing better and better. They've got a quarterback that's given that team a spark because of his natural talent and athleticism and his potential as a quarterback. He's got great arm talent, and the kid can absolutely sling it. I don't think he's good enough at playing the position of quarterback right now to beat a team like Georgia. But he can beat Florida State, and they can beat Ole Miss, and I think they can give Texas some real trouble too. So we'll see. I think Georgia's going to cover late, but I think this could be a close, tight game for a good bit of the game. They've got a running back now, Jaden Ball, true freshman. Kid is a big bowling ball, 6'1", like 230. But real quick, I want to talk about DJ Lagway's, his numbers he's put up. Then I'll talk about Jaden Ball because Kirby had a lot to say about him too. Against Kentucky, again, like I said earlier, 7 for 14, 259 yards, 1 interception, rushed for 46 yards. Against Tennessee, 9 for 17, 98 yards, and 1 touchdown with that 1 interception. But he looked good, even though he looked good for a true freshman in that environment against that team in that stadium, even though the numbers don't really indicate it. He ran the ball 44 times and only threw it 15 times. That was what Florida did against Kentucky. I got that wrong in my notes. Against Mississippi State, he was 7 for 7 for 76 yards, 22 rushing yards. So he's got some experience under his belt. They're not just throwing him into the fire completely, but the kid can play. And Jaden Ball can play too. He rushed for 5 touchdowns against the Cats last week. Again, a true freshman, kid's from the state of Georgia, really good athlete. He ran 22 times last week for 106 yards and 5 touchdowns. 6'1", 230. Okay, this guy can run. He is tough to tackle. Here's what Kirby said about Florida's running back. He said, I've known Jaden for a long time. He's a tremendous talent. He's a great athlete. Saw him at his 9th grade year here in our 7-on-7 camp, but what an athlete he was then. He was playing safety, and he would grow into something. He was a big kid then, but he's gotten so much better. He's explosive. He's twitchy. He's hard to tackle. I mean, he runs physical. He had a great year, but he had a great game against Kentucky with the opportunities that he got. So I do think that we're going to see a lot of him. Sorry, if you could see the door. I should have closed the door earlier. I got to get a better setup in here. I appreciate y'all kind of staying with me. I'm not a decorator, but I got to, I guess, decorate the office that I have in here. But if it looks weird, I apologize. That's on me. But George is going to win the game. But I think this kid can play. I don't know if he's going to play for Florida next year, but I think next year we're talking about him being one of the best quarterbacks in the country by year 3. I think he's good enough to, be a guy everyone's talking about as a possible, first-round pick type. I mean, he's electric with the ball. Can really run for his size, and the arm talent's there. And you watch some of the throws he made against Kentucky. When he had time to throw, which was a lot, a good bit. He has no problem launching it and putting some air under the ball, putting it where it needs to be, giving his receivers an opportunity to make a play on it. So his accuracy could improve, and he's throwing fastballs when he shouldn't, right? He's still not completely, seeing what he thinks he's seeing from a defense pre-snap. So he's got to learn and develop as a quarterback, but the natural tools are there. The physical tools are there. He is still a project, and he is the future of Florida football if he sticks around. If Billy Napier gets another year next year, I think he's, could come back. But if Billy Napier's gone, I don't know who they've got coming in. But DJ Lagway is going to get some crazy big NIL deals from just about everyone saying, hey, we would love you to come on board. He's that good. He's that talented. And Florida's going to ride, the DJ Lagway wave the rest of this year. So Talented true freshman, but a true freshman. I think Georgia has a good chance of really disrupting him. If he can't run and that zone read's not there and they're not, able to run the football consistently, and he's got to throw the ball a bunch in the second half, it's over. This one could get ugly, but he's crazy talented. I think he's going to make some plays here, some plays there, but Georgia's defense should be too good, too deep, too talented for DJ Lagway to lead Florida to victory. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it, and I'll see you over on the next video and on the website. Thanks.